What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, it's Saturday. I'm having a pretty relaxing day, to be honest with you. Bit of Pokemon news, but generally speaking, pretty relaxing day. Wasn't planning on making a One Piece video today, I'm going to be honest with you. I was not on my to-do list for today. Then I woke up and I checked Twitter. And I saw this. And I'm like, oh... yeah. Maybe we do need to have a chat about One Piece TCG after all, because we've got a Kaido and Charlotte Linlin card that is absolutely absurd. Everything about this card is absurd, and I honestly kind of love it. As a side note, it does, of course, have artwork from the anime. All you need to do is look at the ridiculously long copyright in the, I would say top right hand corner, but really it's like the whole right hand side of the card. I'm hoping there's alternate art somewhere which is frankly better, but the card doesn't need to be better. The card is amazing. We got a 10 cost, which is extremely expensive. That's as high as cards get. We got 12,000 power. That is extremely big. That is as big as cards get. And of course, we got the dual trait thing going on here as well. We've got hit and special, or strike and special as it actually is. Basically, the kanji means hit or strike. It's the same thing. And it's got a ridiculous skill. Now, it's an attack skill. Now, the fact that it's attack skill is very important, because on the one hand, it means you've got to play this down for a turn. It gives your opponent a turn to remove it before you ever get to use it. That's bad. But it means you can use it every turn, which is good. Don -10. Oh, you know this is going to be good. KO every character except for this one. Every character on the board other than this one. Yours, your opponent's, everyone. Then put up to one card from the top of your deck on top of your life. And trash the top card of your opponent's life. So it's a 2-life swing. And it KOs every other character. What I really like about this is the 10-cost Kaido and the 10-cost Big Mum mashed together into one card. Go back to OP01, the 10-cost Kaido, what did that do? It KO'd every character other than Kaido. This does that. This literally does the same as that. It KOs every character other than Kaido. It very literally has that skill. Then go to the Big Mum from OP03, which incidentally was also the first Big Mum we ever had. First Kaido, first Big Mum. First Kaido, you could argue to start a deck. I wouldn't argue too much against you. But what does Big Mum do? When you play Big Mum, it's a 2-life swing. You gain a life, your opponent loses a life. It is literally... you get Big Mum skill and Kaido skill, except you've got a Don -10. But you'll also notice Kaido's skill is only if you've got an Animal Kingdom Pirates leader. Big Mum skill is only if you've got a Big Mum Pirates leader. This has no such qualification. It's Don -10, but then it all works. And here's the thing, right? If you get to this skill, you've probably won the game. Like, if you get to this skill, and you've got a 2-life swing, and you're going every other character, your opponent's basically lost. Because the thing is, it doesn't take much to ramp up to 10 Don in a purple deck nowadays. Now, obviously, you're gaining 2 Don a turn. That's pretty important. And you're going to have Onigashima Island, assuming you're playing a Animal Kingdom Pirates leader, of course, which I might suggest with this. And, of course, there's that new Black Maria I showed you the other day. The one that puts 5 Don out. And you've got to discard down to the number of Don your opponent's got at the end of your turn, right? You can't end your turn with more Don than your opponent after using Black Maria. But, this is very important, you don't care about that if you're just minusing it. So, the second you get to 5 Don, you can use Black Maria, go up to 10, and fire this skill again. And there is absolutely a possibility here that you can use this skill multiple times. Sure, if you just wait 5 turns to get your 5 Don back, or, 5 Don times 2, 10 Don, you know what I mean? If you just wait 5 turns to get your Don back, then no, this is not going to be particularly good. But Purple doesn't do that. Purple ramps Don, it's what they do. And now that we've got Black Maria that will get you halfway there by itself, Honestly, if you can hit black, and bearing in mind, Onigashima Island does not get thrown away when you use this skill. It's only characters that go away. So if you can get Onigashima Island out, it's 2 turns. Assuming you can hit a Black Maria, of course, and then you're back to 10 Don. And if you can fire this off potentially every other turn, your opponent is just going to be in a whole heap of trouble. It is an absolutely ridiculous, over-the-top, phenomenal card. And of course, bearing in mind, you're also doing a 12k swing, and you're getting rid of all the characters. So that 12k swing is probably going through, honestly. So, yeah. And, like, it's not perfect. Let's be perfectly clear about this. It's not perfect. There are ways around this card. But it is a case of you are going to need an answer and you're going to need to plan for it. So if you're playing black, what's a really good black card that, you know, it would fit very nicely into pretty much every black deck? Sabo. OPO4 Sabo. What is one of the things OPO4 Sabo does? On play, none of your characters can be KO'd by effects until the start of your next turn, and then draw 2, trash 2. So you can play Sabo and be like, gutted. And the thing is, because this is an attacking skill, not a play skill, there's no dropping it by surprise. Now, if we get a card that allows you to give this rush, that is dumb. Although even that, you've still got to pay 10 Don to play this. You got a minus 10 Don, and there are ways to ramp the Don back up in purple, but you would need to have all of that to play the card. It'd be awkward. But because you're not rushing with this, essentially you play it down, and your opponent goes, oh, I've got a turn. And then if they know you're playing this, and we're all, you know, if you follow the game, you know which decks play which cards generally. If you know there's a decent chance your opponent's playing this, you just keep Sabo in your hand. You don't play Sabo. You wait until the turn that your opponent puts this down on the board, and then you play Sabo, and then your opponent goes, oh, well, I've got to wait another turn. So that's one more turn before they can actually start using this, and round we go. Or you can use a character that can attack active characters, or you use a skill that rests this character, so that you can then attack into it and get rid of it before it ever attacks. The balance in this card is the fact that it's an attacking skill, which means you've got to basically play it down on the board and then wait for a turn to actually activate this skill. That's what stops this card from being utterly full-on game-breakingly broken. But here's the thing. It's all well and good saying, well, just use something that can attack active characters. Just rest it and attack into it. Just play Sabo or something else that gives your characters protection. It's all well and good saying these things, but is it always going to work? Because if I'm the purple player and I know my opponent's going to be trying to attack into this, I'm going to make sure that I spend my first couple of turns getting some blockers down, so that when this hits the board and I know my opponent's going after it, oh look, I just so happen to have blockers on the board ready, so that they're not going to be able to attack in and get rid of my Big Mum and Kaido. Kaido and Big Mum. Kaido and Linlin is what it's actually called. And then I'm going to be able to protect this and go. Sure, my opponent might have Sabo, but they've got to have Sabo and they've got to have it ready on the correct turn. This is the classic card where some people are going to look at it and go, oh, that's absolutely broken. Nothing beats that. That was my first reaction. Then I thought about it a bit. And some people are going to look at this and go, too many counters. But a lot of the people who are looking at this and going, oh, make too many counters, they're going to be thinking of the best case scenario. I'm playing a deck that can rest characters. I'm playing Perona. So I use one of the many black tricks to bring its cost down to 4, then I rest it with my leader, and then I can go and attack it, and jobs are good 'un. Potentially. But are you going to have those cards in hand at the right time? And what if the Kaido and Linlin player has got a bunch of blockers to stop that plan? That's going to be a little bit of a pain. I mean, there's obviously ways you can do this, especially in black, where you can, lower down their cost and then just go ahead and KO them. We got cards like Borsalino that can bump characters back to hand, for instance. Now, Borsalino's a cost 4 or less, but again, we've got a million cards that will lower cost. We've been having them since set 2. They've been all over the place. So stuff like this could potentially work. And because it's an attacking skill, you're basically giving your opponent a turn to try and put it all together. And it absolutely could work. We've got the Kaido from OPO4 Then we'll bounce an 8 cost or lower to hand. So you only need to lower the cost by 2, which is really not difficult, and then all of a sudden, you've got an answer there. But the point I'm making is you've got to have all of these cards. So is this a perfect uncounterable card? No. You're going to get an entire turn to either rest it and KO it, or KO it and return to hand with skills, or set up a sub or something as protection for your side of the board. But your opponent has to. Because it is not something which is just easily counterable every time. If you've got the right hand, oh my word, yes it is. But especially after this has been used once and wiped the board and given a 2-life swing and left a 12k on the board, it is going to be much more difficult. If this fires once, it's probably game over. This is a ridiculous card. It is one of the most ridiculous cards we've seen. And, you know, they've made it Don -10. They've made it an attacking skill. They have done some things to even it up a little bit. But make no mistake about it, this card is ridiculous. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me how ridiculous you think this card is. Tell me if you think it's completely broken. Tell me if you think it's super easily counterable. Or tell me if you think it falls somewhere in between. Go nuts in the comment section, would you? But be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.